Are the Eagles done?
I think so. I don't see how they bounce back from this. I know statistically not, and I've been telling everyone calm down, et cetera, et cetera. It's not just that they lost 3 of their last 4, their only win coming against my hapless Giants. It's that they've now lost 2 at home in consecutive home games, interrupted by the Giants game. Consecutive home games, they've lost tough, close games. And in this case, giving up a huge lead in the 4th quarter. And when you look at the Vikings and the Panthers, those are the teams you have to beat. Not that they're bad teams, that they're good teams. Those are the teams you'll see in the playoffs. I do not see the Eagles coming back from this emotionally, psychologically, let alone in terms of the actual way they're playing on the field. They need a running back. They need better line play. They're not good enough, and I think they're debilitated by this. If I were an Eagles fan, I would start to think about how many games, believe it or not, you actually want to win this year, because I really don't see them making the playoffs. And at that point, you're talking about the draft. Yep.
Whoa. Are you calling for the Eagles to tank? Think about tanking? How many games you want to win this year?
No, I'm saying if I were an Eagles fan, that's what I would be thinking.
Oh, man. You want to go, Stephen A?
Well, go ahead, Will.
I would just say this, Max, you're out of your mind. I mean, you're the one that's talked about how weak the NFC East is. I mean, the calculus for the Eagles is not really what's going wrong for them. That's important. But, look, did the Redskins – look, Adrian Peterson, we all want to give him prop because he was really good yesterday. But are you impressed with the Redskins? I mean, seriously.
Nope.
Like as a threat? No. And obviously, even I can see the Cowboys aren't impressive at this point. That leaves the Giants. So what – hold on. What do the Eagles really have to beat out in the NFC East? That's all they have to do is win the NFC East. Now, they are a victim of their own success. They're a victim of so many things. Thinking they can flip the switch. They can't. Thinking they have reinvented the way dynasties are built. They haven't. Thinking they can make magical plays like they made a year ago. They can't. Everything they did last year, they're failing to do this year. They're not closing teams out. They're losing to the Panthers and the Titans in the 4th quarter. They're not stopping teams on 4th down. The Eagles are like a guy in a chamber with the water going up, right? Sooner or later he's going to die. The water's heading the wrong position. But they're still the Eagles, and the competition is so weak, they have time to still get their head above water because it's the NFC East.
Let me tell you something right now. The Eagles season is not over yet. But 2 weeks from now, I will be telling you it is if they don't win these next 2 games. They travel to London to play Jacksonville, which is just an abominable situation right now with Blake Bortles as their quarterback, and we will revisit that conversation later on, particularly when it comes to Tom Coughlin and the faith that he has shown in Blake Bortles, which I think has really, really sent things awry in Jacksonville. But then after that, they've got a bye week followed by a date at home against the Dallas Cowboys. If the Philadelphia Eagles don't win these 2 games, their season's over. It's that simple. And I'm going to tell you why. Because you can't have your coach, Doug Peterson, who's a damn good coach, a Super Bowl champion, obviously, coming out and talking some idiocy about how there's no pressure on us whatsoever. What the hell are you talking about? That makes no sense whatsoever. The reality is you were up 17-0. In the 4th quarter, you blew a 17-point lead. That is just inexcusable. They were out-coached. They were ill-prepared. They couldn't answer the storm and the onslaught that came their way, courtesy of Carolina, once Carolina really prioritized things and got their house in order in the 4th quarter. And that is the situation. And you come out and you try to give some rah-rah speech about how there's no pressure on you whatsoever. First of all, it's the National Football League. There's always pressure. Secondly, and more importantly, you're the reigning Super Bowl champion where everybody is going to bring you their A game. That's additional pressure. And thirdly, him saying what he said to me gave off the indication that you needed to find a way to assuage the concerns of your team because your very players who are Super Bowl champions are feeling it and might not be able to handle it.
Doug Peterson, Will, to your point about the Cowboys earlier and Jason Garrett, if you really look at the Cowboys' problem, their offensive line is a shell of itself. They don't have legitimate backs right now. But more than that, yesterday, Doug Peterson, late in the game, went into prevent defense and safe offense, and that cost them. Where was the guy from last year that had those guts? When you are handicapped in the way they are, by the offensive line, by the lack of backs, that's when you need to be bold. He has not been bold. I think it's going to be a devastating emotional impact, these last 2 home game losses, and I don't see them recovering.
I don't know about the bold thing, and you have to correct me if I'm wrong on this, but didn't I see a stat where they only ran the ball once in that fourth quarter or something like that? They couldn't hang on to that lead, giving up 21 with a 17-point lead, and I don't know about bold. They just didn't know how. You know what, Stephen A., it needs to be highlighted really quickly what you just said about Doug Peterson. This idea that the pressure's off you now because you've lost, I mean, that's worse than laughable. That's really, really bad.
Yeah.
This is a team, you don't embrace losing, first of all. That's nonsense. Second, everything I hear from the Eagles is they think it's still 2017. Remember the dog masks, no pressure, underdog? You're not underdogs anymore. You're the defending Super Bowl champions. You can't recreate 2017. You might look at the team that you beat last year. You might look at the New England Patriots and figure out why they've been able to win year after year after year.